Hey everyone, welcome back to Reading with Tatiana. Today I'm doing my book review on The Bread the Devil Knead by Lisa Allen-Agostini, and I gave this book a 4 out of 5. Before I go into my full book review, I will always appreciate it if you can hit the subscribe button. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you have read this book, I would love to see your comments down below. My Booktuber Shoutout today is a booktube that actually recommended this book to me. So the Booktube channel is called Gunpowder Fiction and Plot, and I will link his specific channel down below, which talked about the Women's Prize for Fiction Prediction and Reviews. I really like his channel because he does lots of skits within his reviews where he plays both characters in costumes and wigs, and I really love it. I actually don't watch this video too religiously, so I'm not sure if it's just him or if it's him and his partner or a female friend that run the channel, but it is a fun channel for the content I have seen. So again, I'll link the specific video I saw down below. This book, The Bread the Devil Knead, was published in 2022, so of this year, and I would classify it as a fiction and a slice of life, and it was also a Women's Prize for Fiction nominee for shortlist. A bit about the author, Lisa Allen-Agostini. So she was born in 1960s in Trinidad, and she is a Trinidadian journalist. She also is a poet and a writer of fiction and also drama. She also is a stand-up comedian, and her stage name as a stand-up comic is just Lisa. Lisa has written as early as 1991. She mostly focuses on journalism and articles, and The Bread the Devil Kneads is actually her debut novel, which is super exciting. And this book is a product of actually COVID 2019. During lockdown and restrictions, it was really tough for her to engage and be part of her communities. And then she just prayed to God to give her something to work on, and she started writing a manuscript for this book, which got picked up. So I think it's pretty cool that, even though COVID was such a hard time for a lot of us, that for some people that there was some hope and some great writing that came out of it. If you want to learn more about Lisa and her story, I'll actually watch a TED Talk that she did in 2013 called Just Right or Why Right. So if you want to check that down below, I'll link her TED Talk. Now I'll go into the story and the characters. So we meet Alethea, who is approaching 40. She lives in Trinidad, specifically the port of Spain, and she is considered attractive for her age because if you're familiar in the Black community, from what I understand from this book, and also from exposure in, Black America and that kind of stuff, that there is a bit of hierarchy in your tones of your skin in the Black culture. So Alethea, the main character, is of a lighter skin tone, so she is considered quite attractive. She is also a store manager at a local fashion boutique, and she has been very successful and very well liked as a store manager. She has a close relationship with her boss, and actually also has relations with her boss, despite him being married and her also in a long-term relationship. In her private life, she is with Leo, who was a once well-known musician, and they've been common law for 5 years, but we'll come to learn that Leo unfortunately beats Alethea. He is a drunk, and he is very aggressive towards her. So she kind of leads this life where she's very successful and very well liked. However, she always hides her bruises or carries her body a certain way. And we come to know this about Alethea's life, which is quite sad. And the story kind of changes when one day a woman is running around down the street towards the store and happens to be shot by her lover. And this becomes a wake-up call for Alethea, but she is still very scared and a victim of abuse to say anything. And throughout this book, her co-workers and friends that come back from her past into her life kind of reach out to her because they notice that she has bruises. They notice that she covers her bangs, use her bangs to cover her face in certain ways. She uses makeup to hide her bruises and her marks that Leo leaves for her. So her witnessing this woman being murdered is kind of a wake-up call for her, and we kind of feel that she's really stuck and she doesn't know what to do with her life. And then shortly after this incident, two people come from her past. There is a childhood friend that has been living in Miami in America and comes back and provides Alethea a potential business opportunity. And the second person that comes back into her life is a long-lost half-brother that was raised with her in her childhood, and he is now a priest, and he comes back bringing them some family news. So I don't want to get into too much after that because it will spoil the plot quite a bit, but this book is just really tragic because Alethea you come to meet her, she's in her late 30s, she has a very hard life, she feels very stuck, and we also come to learn a lot of reason why she is the way she is, why she is accepting of all this abuse from her partner, and we learn a lot about her childhood as well. So this book is really great because It's a very tragic book, and it kind of like is an onion and like peels back the layers of Alethea in her late 30s back down to her childhood. So I really recommend this book. I would have a caveat saying it is a very dark book though. Common themes I noticed through the book. The number one, which I kind of like touch on based on like the trigger warning of so much trauma and abuse and violence, is definitely knowing your self-worth. Alethea, we can tell from her experiences and I guess communication with people around her, that people love her, they think she's very ambitious, they think she's very independent, and that she knows how to do her job really well. But Alethea has this internal self-worth where she really questions it, and she's kind of scared to take a stand for herself. So I think that's a really common theme for the book that I think is very relevant to everyone watching this video and in our lives. You should know your self-worth and you should stand up for yourself. A second common theme I noticed through the book is because of her coworkers and friends reaching out to her throughout the book, even the police officer, you can see how it's so important when you as an individual reach out to someone, even if it's in passing, just saying a comment, just asking how you're doing, can have a big impact on someone. So I feel that was a very common theme that I learned through the book that's important that I can carry into my life as well. And two other common themes in the book is, again, they all kind of blend together, is how you treat a child, and if you abuse them and they go through trauma, how that can bleed into their adulthood life, and how every action we do has a lasting impact on someone else. So if you have any kids in your life or even no kids in your life, think about how you act and think about how it can make an impact on them. Obviously in this book it's a lot heavier, but I'm just saying always be mindful of how you interact with people. As I did give this book a 4 out of 5, there are some things I didn't like. The first thing, which probably is no surprise, is how dark and heavy the books are. It definitely is a difficult read because Alethea goes through a lot of, hardships in her childhood and her adulthood, and it's just really hard to read. The second reason I didn't like the book, but this is obviously just a preference, is it is told in Alethea's perspective, and it is told in Trinidadian Creole, which means that it is English. However, it's very, I guess, a good way to put it is it's kind of very slang, so it's very you understand it, but it's not natural to, I guess, North American English. So sometimes, even though it is a short book, you kind of have to get into the flow of it, and sometimes have to reread stuff to really understand what's happening. So those are two reasons why I didn't like the book, but I don't think it's enough of a reason to not read the book. I think that's just a disclaimer for you if you're deciding to read this book or not. Things I did like about this book, as this is my first book set in this part of the world, it was very eye-opening for me. And I really think, even though it's fictional, that a lot of Alethea's experience are true lived experiences for women in Trinidad and Tobago, and also women all over the world, especially in domestic abusive relationships, or women that had a lot of trauma in their childhood. So I really like learning about those perspectives because I don't really read about topics like that normally. So I really enjoyed that. Other things I really enjoyed about this book is just seeing the friendships of the co-workers and women and men in Alethea's life, and how it's so important to have friendships and people around you to kind of be a sounding board, or to call you out, or to be there for support. Either they're there as a proactive type of support, or just there passively in case you ever need them. So I really like the idea of friendship that was prevalent throughout the whole book. One quote I did want to share, which I really love, that Alethea said, which kind of talked about aging and just aging gracefully, and it's more about a state of mind, not your physical appearance. And also give you an example of the Creole that is used in the writing. So here goes. 40 don't sound so bad when you is 39 and 11 months and some days. It's just a number, and the face you does see staring back at you in the mirror, not as important as the memories in the mind behind it. So that kind of gives you the type of English they're using. Grammatically, for me as a North American, it's not very straightforward or correct. A bit hard to read, but I do get the point of it. And I really like that quote because Alethea, even though she's turning 40, she thinks that looks don't really matter. It's really the experiences and the memories in the mind that go behind your live years on this earth. So I really enjoyed that quote and that mindset that Alethea had. On Goodreads, this book got an average of 4.04 out of 5, which I think is a pretty solid rating. I do want to say this book just came out this year, so give it a few years to give it a more accurate rating. Reasons why people didn't like it is I think this book maybe does need to come with a trigger warning, especially if you're someone that's experienced trauma. There is a abuse, incest, rape, a lot of violence, and I think that can be very hard and jarring for people to read if you didn't know that going into it. Some people felt the trauma was too repetitive and not productive to the plot. I don't know if I agree because I think this person also didn't finish this book. So I think if they had finished it, I think they would see that kind of all came together. Some people also thought there was a lack of character development. This book is very short. It did take me a few readings to read it just because of the heavy topics. But I think if you are familiar with these kind of topics and maybe not so affected by it, this could be easily be read in one sitting. So for the people saying that there was no character development, I would argue against that because I think this book is more of a slice of life book versus a plot driven book. So I think you're here just popping in, seeing Alicia's life, seeing this big crossroads she's at, but we don't need to see some big character development or epiphany. So I disagree with those bad reviews. Good reviews on Goodreads is that people thought it has spotlight on a part of the world that isn't really talked about in mainstream media, especially North America. They thought it was great writing and the voice of the protagonist was consistent throughout the book. I really agree with that because, as I said, it's told in Alicia's voice and her point of view. And throughout the book, I really felt I embodied her as a character. And they also felt that it was an engaging and a quick read, like I said before, despite the heavy topics. Reasons why I think you should read this book. For me, I think you should read this book because it's something that's not usually spotlight in our mainstream media. Learn more about Trinidad and Tobago and its culture. And also, it's a good book if you want to read a first-hand perspective and internal dialogue of someone that has suffered abuse and actively in a domestic violent relationship and how someone is able to justify not leaving or walking away even though it seems so easy because someone is hurting you. So this book gave me a lot of compassion and a lot of empathy for people in those situations. Now I'll share how this book made me feel because I always love asking people when they finish a book how it made them feel. Because if you ask me in a week, a month, a year, 5 years from now, I probably won't remember how this book made me, what this book was about, but I'll always remember what this book made me feel. So this book, The Bread the Devil Knead by Allen-Agostini, it made me feel awful but proud of Alicia's life story. It's just crazy how much she went through, and this book is really just so inspiring because even though she's a fictional character, Alicia's life turns around when she becomes 40, and it just goes to show that even if you have a really tough life in your teens, 20s, and even your 30s, that life can always turn around, and just keep persevering and just keep doing what you know is good, and your hard work will hopefully pay off. So this book made me feel awful, but also made me feel really good at the end. I think it's really worth reading. Thank you for watching until the end of this book review for The Bread the Devil Knead by Allen-Agostini. If you want to join me next time, this book I've been on hold since May at the library, so I have to finish it because I definitely can't renew it. I'm so excited for this book. It's called Crying in H-mart by Zauner. And if you don't know, this book is a memoir about a woman who is half Korean and half American but raised in America. And she just talks about her struggle being half-half, kind of between two cultures. And just, it really comes to a precipice when her mom gets sick and she has to go take care of her mom. So I'm really excited to read this book. I've heard great things about it. And if you have read it, I'd love to see you at my next video. See you guys next time. Bye.